She looked like an easy target, alone in a wheelchair, quietly waiting in a courthouse parking garage. But what the 5 bikers from the Dark Cavalry gang didn't know was that Catherine Brennan had spent 2 decades taking down California's most dangerous criminals. And today, their threats were about to become her most powerful evidence yet. Curtis the Hammer Steele, leader of the gang, was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. In less than 60 seconds, everything his empire was built on would begin to collapse. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If you love stories where the tables turn, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's story, it's next level. That morning, the Sacramento courthouse glowed under the rising sun as Kate rolled steadily up the ramp, every move smooth, controlled. She'd learned to make her wheelchair seem like a weakness. It wasn't. It was camouflage. "Morning, Miss Brennan." The security guard smiled, looking sharp. She nodded, adjusting her blazer to check the hidden mic sewn into the lining. "Anything unusual?" "Some bikers earlier," he said. "Told them they were in the wrong lot." Kate's mind clicked into gear. It was starting, just like she predicted. Inside, her assistant DA looked tense. Another threat letter. This one's darker. She examined the note, pieced together from cut-up newspapers. "Back off, or the chair will be the least of your problems." "They're scared," she said, sealing it into an evidence bag. The FBI was ready. Judge Richmond had just approved the wiretap. Kate had spent 18 months tracing the gang's activity. What began as a weapons case had uncovered something far bigger, a syndicate tied to a crime boss with roots in City Hall. But now, something felt off. "Detective Edward Pierce is asking about you," her assistant said. Kate narrowed her eyes. "Let him ask. It's time we find out whose side he's on." By late afternoon, she was in a locked conference room with FBI agent Fletcher. "They're moving something big tonight," he said, "and Steele will be there." "Then why the sudden interest in me?" Kate asked. A text buzzed her secure phone. "Level 2, come alone, or the evidence disappears forever." "They took the bait," she whispered, reaching beneath her chair to activate the hidden camera. Fletcher stood. "Kate, this is insane." "No, it's perfect," she said, wheeling toward the door. "They expect a scared prosecutor." "Let's give them exactly that." The garage was dim, echoing with the soft whir of wheels. Shadows moved. 4 figures stepped forward. Frost, Steele, Iron, Stone, and then him, Curtis the Hammer Steele. "Well, well," he sneered. The crippled prosecutor, alone. Her hands trembled just enough. "What do you want?" Steele circled her. "Some investigations can be bad for your health." He leaned in close. "Accidents happen, especially to people in wheelchairs." He didn't know. Every word, every threat was being recorded. And beneath her calm fear, Catherine Brennan was smiling. Because this wasn't intimidation. This was evidence. And it was game over. Steele's hands gripped the back of her wheelchair and spun her hard. "Drop the investigation," he growled, "or we'll show you what the Dark Cavalry does to people who don't listen." The gang swaggered away, engines roaring to life. Catherine Brennan waited. As their motorcycles faded into the distance, she pulled out her phone. "Fletcher, tell Judge Richmond to stand by. We've got our warrant." The real operation was about to begin, and the Dark Cavalry had no idea they'd just sealed their own fate. Back at the DA's office, the energy was electric. Surveillance footage from the garage played on loop. Dan Crawford pinned new photos to the evidence board, each face captured on camera, now part of an airtight case. Agent Fletcher paced with his phone glued to his ear, coordinating with FBI field units. "We've got them," Dan said. "Steele practically handed us a witness intimidation charge on a silver platter." Kate rolled closer to the board, her eyes scanning the red strings she'd mapped over the past year and a half. It wasn't just about guns anymore. This web pointed to something much bigger. "They're acting too bold," she murmured. "Steele wouldn't have threatened me unless he was certain he had protection." Fletcher ended his call. "My team tracked them straight to Pier 19. They met with someone in a black SUV. That SUV's registered to a shell company tied to Lorenzo the Silencer Venessi. Kate's jaw clenched. For years, Venessi had hidden behind layers of front businesses, staying one step ahead of law enforcement. But this time she had a thread, and she was going to pull it until everything unraveled. "Get me footage. Traffic cams, toll booths, anything. I want that SUV traced." A knock on the door. Detective Edward Pierce stepped in. "Heard there was trouble in the garage," he said casually. "Just checking in." Kate kept her tone even. "Nothing serious. A few lost bikers." But as Pierce's eyes drifted toward the evidence board, she quickly moved her chair to block his view. "You sure you don't want extra patrols?" he asked. "That won't be necessary," she replied firmly. Once he left, Fletcher shut the door. "He's compromised, no doubt about it. The question is, how deep does it go?" Kate opened her secure laptop. 3 months ago, Pierce started depositing small amounts into an offshore account. The dates line up exactly with the Dark Cavalry's weapons shipments. She clicked to another document. "And every time Venesi's group moves something through Sacramento, Pierce gets paid." Fletcher exhaled. "He's their early warning system." "And he's not alone," Kate said. "There's a network, dirty cops, customs officials, maybe even judges." She pulled out a thick folder labeled Operation Silence. "For a year, I've been mapping Venesi's empire. The Dark Cavalry is just muscle. His real operation runs through fake construction firms, shipping fronts, corrupt bureaucrats, all stitched together under the radar." Dan stared at the file, jaw tight. "This is bigger than we imagined." Kate nodded. "And now, we've got them rattled. That garage stunt wasn't just about scaring me. It was a message from Venesi. They know we're close." She turned to the window, watching the sun sink below the skyline. "It's time to move. Dan, I want every Dark Cavalry property under surveillance within 24 hours. Fletcher, be ready to move fast once the warrants are signed." "What about Pierce?" Fletcher asked. "Let him think his warning worked," Kate said. "Tomorrow I'll make it look like I'm backing off. They'll think I'm scared, and he'll be watching every move I make." "You're going to feed him false intel," Fletcher realized. Kate brought up a map on her laptop. 3 days from now, Venesi's crew is moving something through this area, big enough that Steele is handling security himself. She pointed to the expected drop site. "Pierce will think we're targeting this warehouse, but we're not. The real prize is next door, the office complex. That's where they keep the financial records, client logs, payroll for the dirty officials." Dan's eyes widened. "So while they protect the guns, we seize their entire operation." Kate smiled. "From the inside out." Fletcher grinned. "And Pierce won't even see it coming." "But we have to play it smart," she warned. "One wrong move and they'll wipe everything. We let them think they've won, right up until the moment they lose everything." That night, the office buzzed with quiet urgency. Kate finalized paperwork with Judge Richmond. Dan prepared documents to make the investigation's closure look convincing. And as night settled over Sacramento, Kate rolled through the same garage where it all began. Quiet now, no bikers in sight. She smiled. Steele thought he was threatening a helpless prosecutor, but what he really did was start a countdown to his own destruction. Her phone buzzed, a secure message from Fletcher. "Teams in position. Surveillance confirms Pierce made contact with Steele's lieutenant." They took the bait. Kate started her car, her mind already 5 steps ahead. The Dark Cavalry thought they'd scared her off. In reality, they had just ignited a war they couldn't possibly win. As dawn broke over Sacramento, Kate sat in her home office surrounded by evidence, 18 months of investigation laid out in folders, photos, and red strings. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, forgotten next to a stack of shipping logs. All her focus was locked on the images in front of her, the Dark Cavalry compound buzzing with activity, crates being moved overnight. Unmarked police cruisers, Pierce's, had circled 3 times, just like she'd predicted. Her secure line rang. Dan Crawford. "They're moving early," he said. "Just got word from our contact at the docks. 2 containers marked as auto parts, Pier 19, in broad daylight." Vanessi's nervous, Kate muttered, wheeling toward her computer. He never moves product during the day. She pulled up customs records. Everything looks clean. Too clean, Dan replied. Who signed the inspection? Agent Mark Wilson, she read aloud, grimacing. No one's that thorough unless they're being paid. Add him to the board. I want his financials and every family connection he has. The doorbell rang in a coded pattern. Fletcher. Kate checked her security feed, buzzed him in. The FBI agent looked exhausted. Pierce made his move, he said, dropping a file on her desk. Called in a bogus domestic dispute. Every cop on his shift is tied up across town when the shipment hits. Kate smiled faintly and turned her attention to new surveillance photos. And our mystery man in the black SUV? Spotted at the Golden Eagle Casino, Fletcher said, pulling out another photo. Met with someone interesting. Kate narrowed her eyes. Judge Martin Harris, she said, identifying the man trying too hard to look casual. He's scheduled to hear the RICO case against Steele's lieutenant next week, and he's denied our last 3 warrants. Sending this to State Attorney Sinclair, Kate said coldly. I want a deep dive into every case he's ever touched, especially ones tied to Vanessi's shell companies. By late morning, everything was moving. Kate made sure she was seen arriving at the courthouse, appearing tired, struggling slightly with her wheelchair. All part of the act. In her office, she spoke loudly about dropping the weapons case, fully aware Pierce had planted a listening device. That afternoon, Dan coordinated with undercover teams. Kate appeared in Judge Richmond's courtroom, a minor hearing, nothing more than an alibi. She fumbled slightly with her paperwork, letting just enough uncertainty show. Miss Brennan, Judge Richmond asked, playing along, you seem off today. My apologies, Your Honor. It's been a troubling week. The message was clear. The prosecutor was rattled. The cavalry's threats had worked. At least, that's what they were meant to believe. Back at her office, confirmation came in. The Dark Cavalry had all their resources guarding the wrong place. Frost was running security at the weapons site. Pierce had his patrols focused on that building. Everything was going to plan. First team in position, Fletcher reported. Office complex has minimal security. They weren't expecting this. Kate studied the building layout. Go for files, phones, hard drives, anything that connects the shell companies to Vanessi. We take their brains, not just their weapons. Then, chaos. Dan burst into the room, his face pale. We've got a problem. Joey the Stone Martinez just posted bail, $2 million in cash. What? Kate's voice sharpened. He's en route to the office complex. Martinez is their intelligence guy, she said, already calculating. If he sees a federal raid, he'll connect the dots. You've got 15 minutes, she messaged Fletcher. Get what you can. If Martinez walks in, make it look like you panicked and pulled out. Dan looked stunned. We're letting him see us? No, Kate replied. We're showing him exactly what Vanessi wants to believe. A sloppy, routine inspection, nothing more. Dan handed her the bail paperwork. It was paid by a law firm we've never seen before. She glanced at it, her expression hardening. Run it! Seconds later, Dan froze. The firm's owned by a holding company, registered to Judge Harris's wife. Kate's eyes widened. It's a test. Vanessi doesn't trust the cavalry anymore. He sent Martinez to spy on them. She immediately called Fletcher. Change of plans. Let Martinez see your team, but make it look uncoordinated. No vests, no arrests. Just enough to make him report a false alarm. And when Vanessi hears it, he'll blame the cavalry, Kate said. He won't suspect us. It fits the story they think they know, me backing down, the investigation collapsing. We'll be ghosts. Fletcher's voice crackled through. Copy that. We'll be out before they even realize what we took. Kate turned back to the evidence board, staring at the web of names, photos, and transactions. Everything was coming together. But this next move, this deception, it had to be flawless, because in this game, one wrong step meant starting over. But if they played it right, they wouldn't just bring down the Dark Cavalry, they'd expose the entire criminal machine behind them. The next hour was intense. Eyes on the cameras, hearts pounding behind screens. Martinez arrived at the office complex just as Fletcher's audit team made a carefully staged exit, loud, obvious, and sloppy by design. Through live surveillance, they watched Martinez sweep the area, inspecting every hallway, every camera, every exit. He bought it, Fletcher confirmed later. Spent 2 hours tearing through their security. Then called Steele directly. Didn't look happy. Kate allowed herself the smallest smile. Good. Now it was time to leak news that the weapons investigation was officially dropped. Let them celebrate. Let them think they won. While they exhaled in relief, Kate's team dove into the real treasure. Data from the office complex. Records, contacts, financial trails. Every file brought them closer to unraveling the truth. On her evidence board, Judge Harris's photo now sat dead center. They think they're guarding Vanessi's weapons, Kate muttered. But they're just running interference. The real operation's only beginning. And for the first time, they had proof. Proof of just how deep this went. Outside, as night fell, she watched Pierce's patrol car glide past the weapons warehouse. Let him believe he's protecting something important. Let him think he's doing his job. The truth would come crashing down soon enough. Her phone buzzed. Sinclair. Harris's financials are interesting. We need to meet. Tomorrow. The walls were closing in. But Kate knew better than to celebrate. Experience had taught her that the moment things seem perfect is when they're most fragile. The next day, Kate wheeled through the towering doors of Olivia Sinclair's office, its view overlooking the Capitol, a silent reminder of the power at play. Sinclair was already waiting, tension clouding her usually calm expression. "Close the door," she said, pulling a thick file from her safe. "What I'm about to show you doesn't leave this room." Kate rolled up to the desk, watching as Sinclair spread the documents like a surgeon preparing for an operation. Bank statements, property titles, offshore transfers. "Harris isn't just compromised," Sinclair said, her voice sharp. "He's Vanessi's fixer. Every major case that could have threatened their operation landed in his courtroom." Kate examined a damning transfer. "They're not even hiding it anymore." "They don't have to," Sinclair replied. "Look at this." She pointed to a digital archive. 5 years' worth of case dismissals, drug trafficking, laundering, arms smuggling, all buried by Harris. Kate's breath caught. The dark cavalry is just muscle. The real power? It's here, in the courts. A knock at the door. Sinclair's secretary stepped in. "Detective Pierce is here, says it's about the Martinez case." Kate and Sinclair locked eyes. This wasn't coincidence. "Send him in," Sinclair said. Miss Brennan was just leaving. Kate gathered her papers slowly, her posture shrinking, her expression tired, an act. As she rolled past Pierce, she felt his gaze trailing her. He was watching closely now. As soon as the elevator doors closed, she was on the line with Fletcher. "Pierce is meeting with Sinclair. I need the audio." "Already active," Fletcher replied, "but you should hear this. Movement at the docks. The cavalry's full leadership is converging at Pier 19. "Visuals?" she asked. Her tablet lit up as she climbed into her van. Surveillance photos poured in. Curtis, the hammer Steele, flanked by his inner circle. But one vehicle in the background made her freeze. "That car," she pointed. "I've seen it before." Fletcher's keys clacked on the other end. Then a pause. "Registered to Chief Judge William Morton." Kate's grip tightened on her wheels. "The Chief Justice of the Superior Court," she whispered. "The one man who could shut this investigation down permanently." "Get me back to the courthouse," she told her driver. "And tell Dan I want every case Morton's ever touched that links back to Vannessi. All of it." Back in her office, the board had exploded with new threads. Dan pinned photos, court documents, case numbers. Red lines crisscrossed the board like a spider's web. Corruption didn't just touch the courthouse. It was the courthouse. "Look at this," Dan said, pointing. "Every time we get close, our cases get reassigned. To judges we now know are compromised." "They've turned Sacramento's entire legal system into a shield," Kate muttered. "Not just to protect their empire, but to weaponize the courts against us." Her phone vibrated again. Another message from Sinclair. "Sinclair, Pierce asked about the Rico case. Says he's worried about your safety." "They're getting nervous," Fletcher said, scanning surveillance. "The cavalry's doubled their patrols. Steele's got Frost and Iron running his personal security. Kate stared out the window, watching the golden light fade from the courthouse facade. Pierce may have convinced them I'm out, she said, but Vanessi's too smart to fully relax. He knows something's coming. A new alert lit up the screen. Stone, Martinez, had just entered the Golden Eagle Casino. 2 men followed behind him, dressed like wealth and secrets. Kate's eyes narrowed. That's not a meeting. That's a message. And whatever came next would either expose everything or bury it for good. Track them, Kate ordered. Everyone they meet, every word they say. Dan's phone rang. As he listened, his face darkened. That was our source at the clerk's office. Judge Morton just scheduled an emergency hearing, tomorrow morning. He's demanding all case files related to the Dark Cavalry. He's trying to bury it all, Fletcher muttered. No, Kate said, eyes lighting with something sharper. He's doing exactly what we need. He's creating a trail we can follow. She moved quickly to her computer. Contact Judge Richmond. I want every unusual document request, every shady case reassignment from the last 5 years. Morton's about to expose every corrupt judge he's ever protected. That's a massive gamble, Fletcher warned. If he gets those files, he won't, Kate said grimly, because tomorrow morning State Attorney Sinclair is going public, and when she does, every dirty judge in Sacramento is going to panic. Dan's eyes widened as he connected the dots. They'll start trying to cover their tracks, and we'll be watching every move they make. Kate pulled up courthouse security feeds. The screen filled with live shots, Pierce, Morton, Harris. They think they're untouchable, she said. Let's show them what happens when the system turns on its own. As night fell over Sacramento, Kate made one final call. Is everything ready for tomorrow? She asked Sinclair. Press conference is locked for 9 a.m. Every major network's confirmed. There was a pause. Kate, once this hits, there's no going back. They won't just lose jobs. They'll lose everything. They already lost, Kate replied, watching Pierce's patrol car roll into the garage again. They just don't know it yet. She opened the surveillance feed from Pier 19, one more glance at Steele meeting with a Superior Court judge. It was almost poetic. They believed corruption made them invincible. Tomorrow, they'd learn that same corruption was about to destroy them. Her phone buzzed. Fletcher. Teams in place. No one enters or leaves the courthouse without us knowing. It was time. By 8:45 a.m., the steps of the courthouse were packed. News vans, microphones, cameras, all aimed at a single podium. From her office, Kate watched it unfold. Her wheelchair caught the golden morning light perfectly, a subtle touch to make her seem more vulnerable in every press photo. Morton just arrived, Dan reported. Harris is with him. 3 more judges, too. Kate checked her watch. Where's Pierce? Across the street. He's been on the phone for 20 minutes, probably warning his friends. Kate smiled. Too late. Sinclair stepped to the podium, flanked by cameras, flares flashing, every word broadcast live. Kate asked through her secure line, Are we capturing everything? Every conversation in that crowd, Fletcher confirmed. Any contact with Vanessi's crew will know. Sinclair's voice rang out across the plaza. Today, I am announcing a formal investigation into widespread corruption within Sacramento's judicial system. The crowd exploded in shouts and flashing cameras. From her vantage point, Kate watched Judge Morton's expression flicker, just for a second. A tell. We have credible evidence of case tampering, bribery, and direct collusion with organized crime. Kate's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You should have stayed down. This isn't over. She forwarded it to her team. Track the number, cell towers, movement, everything. They're panicking, she said to Dan, who nodded. Exactly what we need. Back at the Dark Cavalry compound, Fletcher called in. Steele just gathered his entire leadership. Emergency meeting. And the black SUV? Heading east on I-80. Looks like Vanessi's skipping town. Kate turned back to the board. Let him run. He thinks he's escaping. Back at the courthouse, Morton slammed into his chambers. calls, shredders, panic. Send the photos, Kate told her team. Morton with Steele. Harris taking envelopes at the casino. Send everything. That'll blow our surveillance, Dan warned. It doesn't matter now, Kate said. Let them feel cornered. When people panic, they make mistakes. And the first mistake came fast. Judge Harris burst from the courthouse carrying a briefcase he hadn't had that morning. Follow that case, Kate said. Everything we need might be inside. Harris drove recklessly, running red lights, speeding, until he pulled into the Golden Eagle Casino. Surveillance captured every second. He met with Stone and Frost in a private corner of the parking structure. Handoff confirmed, Fletcher said. We've got it on tape. The final moves were unfolding. Every corrupt player was now in motion, trying to save themselves. But Kate had already set the trap. They were watching the fall of an empire. And it was happening in real time. Harris was on the run. Kate's phone buzzed. Sinclair again. Morton's trying to shut everything down. Emergency review. Full stop on dark cavalry investigations. Kate smiled coldly. Perfect. The more they try to bury us, the deeper they dig themselves. Meanwhile, Pierce was heading straight for the dark cavalry compound. Stay on him, Kate ordered. One confirmed contact, and we have him for conspiracy. Suddenly, her office door slammed open. Judge Morton stormed in, flanked by court officers. This witch hunt ends now, he barked. Surrender all dark cavalry case files or face contempt charges. Kate feigned fear. But they're part of a federal case. I don't care if they're part of a presidential inquiry, Morton snapped. After he stormed out, Kate turned to Dan. Send that recording to Sinclair. That was judicial interference on tape. Her phone buzzed again. Think you're clever? Wait until tonight. Let's see how tough you are when your protection's gone. They're planning something, Dan said, eyes scanning the message. Yes, Kate replied, pulling up patrol schedules. And they'll walk right into the trap we've set. As night fell, the city buzzed with talk of corruption, but inside her darkened office, Kate waited. Surveillance cameras blinked to life. The East Wing's lights cut out, just like Pierce's maintenance request said they would. 4 motorcycles entered the garage. Frost, Steele, Iron, and Steele himself. They're here, Dan whispered. Kate positioned herself at her desk, calm and prepared. The door burst open. Steele and Frost stormed in, armed. Dangerous night to be alone, Miss Brennan, Steele mocked. Kate's hands trembled, perfectly on cue. What do you want? Everything. Your files, copies, backups, you know what we're here for. They're with the feds, she said, backing her chair toward the wall. Steele grabbed her wheelchair handles. Elevators can be tricky, especially when the power's out. Kate reached for a drawer. Please, don't hurt me, they're here. Steele leaned in and she hit the hidden switch. Blinding lights, sirens, shouting. FBI agents stormed the room. Drop your weapons, Fletcher's voice boomed. The dark cavalry was surrounded. You set us up, Steele growled. No, Kate replied coldly. You exposed yourselves. On federal property. With weapons. On camera. He laughed bitterly. Morton will get this thrown out. Kate smiled and pointed to the screen. Live footage of Morton being arrested. Try calling Pierce, she said. He's busy explaining to Internal Affairs how he diverted police resources for criminals. Steele and his crew surrendered. Frost tried to run. He didn't make it. You played us, Steele muttered. No, Kate said. You underestimated me.